Please share with us the story of the elf.
All right. So, obviously, as I spoke of earlier, when someone asks you if you want to do something, I say, I do, of course. Yes, I do. And there was a gentleman who's been following me on the internet, had seen a lecture of mine, and he eventually contacted me earlier this year and asked me, do you want to see an elf? And I said, yes, of course. And he and I exchanged emails and talked on the phone many times over the course of many weeks, and he explained that he had learned somehow or another how to summon them, that he had retired, moved into Michigan's Thumb area. He had some property that backs up to a state forest. After his wife passed away, he would walk through the woods singing, and eventually these creatures that he calls elves responded to his singing, and he has become friends with them, and they communicate with him telepathically because he doesn't understand their language. All of this sounds great to me. I want to be involved with it. I want to see an elf. I want to talk telepathically to some strange creature. So we set a date. He sends me a very comprehensive list of things that I have to do for 3 days beforehand. I'm not allowed to eat any meat, because if you smell like you've eaten meat, the quote-unquote elves get afraid. They think that you're going to eat them. So you can't eat any meat. You try and spend every morning, as soon as you wake up, go outside and let the sun shine on your face. You have to have 3 interactions a day for 3 days with a non-human animal, so dog, cat, bird, whatever. You have to spend 3 times a day for 3 days touching a plant of some sort. This huge list of things, which I posted some of them on Facebook and people can read. So I go through the process, fully well thinking to myself that this is indeed a moment where I'm going to drive up into Michigan's Thumb area and probably be killed. So I tell people where I'm going to be so that if anything happens, of course, they can track back to me. And I make this trip up to this man's house. He's late 80s, early 90s. He's a retired automotive worker. So I felt somewhat okay that I could take him if the fight was going to break out. But you never know who's going to be dressed up as a Keebler elf in the forest with a knife and stab you in the chest. I drive up there, and we talk for a little bit. It's 9:30 at night. It's winter time in Michigan. It's about -5 degrees outside. There's snow on the ground. We go outside. We kind of walk into the darkness of the forest behind his house, and he sings, and I have to stand there and breathe with my mouth open so they can smell my breath and not be afraid that I'm going to eat them. And he starts to sing this little tune. He's humming, and as I'm standing there in the darkness, I start to see what appears to be fireflies starting to fill up the forest. Now, again, this is -5 degrees, snow on the ground, Michigan winter. There are no fireflies. And the fireflies that I'm used to seeing are kind of a yellowish, yellow-greenish color. And these that I'm seeing are purples and blues and pinks. And they don't look like a firefly, the way a firefly kind of is bright and then slowly fades off. You can kind of see their tail. These are kind of these small popping flashes of color all around the forest. And he says to me, he stops singing for a second, he says, "They're coming." And my heart is racing, and I'm starting to freak out. I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm about to see an elf, or something's happening. And I start to hear scurrying at my feet, which sounds much like a chipmunk or a squirrel. And I have a camera on me at the time. He told me I could bring a camera. And he stops singing at a certain point, and he says, "Right there, about 10 feet in front of you, take a picture." And so my camera's just hanging over my neck, so without even lifting it up to my eye, I just snap a photo, and my flash goes off, and about 10 to 12 feet in front of me on this log that's fallen over is what looks like an elf, a little 11.5-inch tall person, upright, who jumps back into the darkness as soon as the flash goes off. And obviously there are these moments where reality twists, and there's this kind of, what just happened? What did I just see? And I run over there and I start taking more pictures, and I get pictures of these little hoof prints all around in the snow, and I don't see the creature again, and the creature is gone, and that was kind of my experience. And I have to drive home thinking to myself, what did I just see? I just think that I saw an elf. So that's the beginnings of that story.